Hello, everyone. Good to see you. Welcome to this. I think it's now the fourth around the table on the topic of the power of beauty and creativity. And as I say those words, I feel already kind of the potential in this conversation for what's going to come. So I'm very curious and excited, I would say, to see what arises from each of our individual perspectives and experiences of that topic. So as usual, just to frame it for people who are listening, we go around the table. Each person shares. We really give space and time to each person to dive into that theme, into their personal and unique connection to the theme. And we allow over the course of roughly an hour for our stories, our experiences, our wisdom to kind of become a more unified whole, to weave itself together, and to hopefully also take out of it some really practical steps or explorations or prompts that you can dive into yourself from this conversation. Yeah. So we have a virtual table, and I'm not going to introduce. We're going to do that now in our own ways, our own words. Marianne Hartley, David Nazario, my partner Rob Sykes next to me, and myself, Edward Pike. So we'll do a first round of just introducing ourselves and who we are and what is our personal and also professional connection perhaps to this topic, the power of beauty and creativity. And I'm going to invite Marianne to start, and then we're going to David, Rob, and I'll finish. So Marianne, off you go.
So hi, Edward and Rob and David. It's a real joy to be here with you today around this virtual table. And so I'm Marianne Hartley. I'm the founder of Hartley Soul branding and design agency. It's somewhere where we create irresistible brands that capture all our senses and leave us feeling connected to the heart. And yeah, the power of beauty and creativity is really at the heart of my professional life, but I think also around my personal life. In a sense, it's core to life itself, I feel, and they're vital ingredients for joy, for satisfaction, for exploration and expansion. And yeah, I think that's me for now.
Great, thank you. David.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. I love the name of your company, Marianne. I just wanted to Hartley. I think that's pretty cool. But my name is David Nazario. I first and foremost, I am a brother, a friend, a lover, a spirit, human. And then secondly, I'm a writer and a speaker and an educator. So I've been blessed to be able to do that all of my adult life and never have to work at a job that I don't love. So I've been working with young people, teaching, and doing that while pursuing a career as a writer and a speaker. And I think that the power of beauty and creativity, I think I'm experiencing it in a totally new way. And it's informing my work and the things that I write and the things that I create and the things that I want to bring into the world. Um, I think I'm having an opportunity to look at things like death and pandemics as beautiful things, you know, not finding, but letting the light come out of that. And I use, you know, light in quotations because I don't think there's one of the things I'm learning about the power of beauty and creativity, that there is the light, as we call it, or the positivity is no better or worse than the negativity or the darkness. And I think there's a lot of beauty that's emerging from that for me right now. And it's tiring at times, but it's beautiful at times. And it allows me to create and share in new ways. So I'm excited about that. And I'm also finding that my creativity, that the more tuned in I am to myself and my spirituality, my creativity flows, which is something that I knew, but it's nice to be reminded at this stage of my life. And yeah, I'm just very I have a lot of gratitude for the power of beauty and creativity. And yeah, I guess that's what I'll share for now.
Thank you, David. Thank you. Want to go next?
You can go. I'll go after you.
Okay, we're changing the table a little bit. Okay, so I'm Edward. I'm the founder of the temple. That's one hat that I wear. I wear a few different hats. Second hat is spiritual coach, and even I would say sometimes a catalyst for personal transformation. And the third hat is creator and creative, and photographer and writer and filmmaker, and also web designer. So I express my creativity through really kind of in that context, really giving form to the intangible, let's say. So I do that, for example, through photography. And this is something that's just, only in hindsight can I see what I've been doing, which is really see through the eyes of, let's say, my soul, see through the eyes of source through my camera, and really kind of put that into a video, put that into a photograph. And I created a whole book called I Am Creed, or I Am Awaken Your Nature, which is a kind of an expression of that deeper seeing that I've just naturally have the capacity to do, and which I also do with my web design clients. So really getting, again, it's something that I can't always explain, although I can begin to explain it more and more, just in really intuitively sensing and seeing the essence of what they're offering, of what they want to bring to the world, and putting that into a tangible expression, like a website. So it's really the merging of, that creative side, the spiritual side, all of these different aspects. And that's my connection to this theme, the power of beauty and creativity. I've seen it time and time again in photography, even in myself, just taking a beautiful photo and the impact that it has. Suddenly I've seen something that maybe with my eyes I didn't really capture, but then it comes into an image and something is created, something happens in that moment. And there's a kind of, I would call it a moment of awakening, of expansion. But also in clients, someone who sees, the first structure of their website for the first time. Like I had a client this week, and it was very different to what we'd spoken of, but it was perfect. And even I was surprised by what came through, the colors and the images and how the layout. But it was perfect for what she needed, and it really gave a beautiful sense of her. So, and of course, it had a massive impact on her. It really gives, a confidence, a clarity. It's like an allowing of something that perhaps before is invisible and intangible and not fully formed, and then it gives it a form. And there's something that happens in that moment, which I'm curious to hear everyone's take on that, on how we do that through beauty and creativity, give form to this formlessness. And maybe that's the next round of of conversation. Yeah, that's all I'll share for now. I'll let you introduce yourself.
So hi everybody, my name is Rob Sykes. Nice to be here today with you all. My expression of creativity, I guess, has seen many iterations, both as a child and kind of growing up as an adult. I'm currently expressing myself and connecting to my creativity through my work as a sound therapist, but I'm also a furniture maker, and I specialize in a craft called straw marquetry with my furniture, and I've also DJ'd professionally for about 30 years. So I've had many different outlets for my creative expression, and I think more recently, through my training as a sound therapist and my relationship or awareness really of us really kind of just being energetic beings, kind of, energy trapped in these kind of human forms, I've really kind of come to see how, my connection to kind of creativity and beauty is just that. Is all related to energy and how we as energy beings kind of move and express and create. So yeah, that's I guess the short answer to my connection to creativity and beauty right now.
Nice. Ooh. Yeah, so let's dive into what I just brought up there. Marianne, I'm curious to hear your and David and everyone's kind of understanding or connection to that, to the idea of beauty and creativity creating form out of something more intangible and invisible. So what's your experience of that, and what do you see that the impact of that can be for people?
Yeah, it's a really cool subject, because you talked about making something visible from the invisible. I often see it a bit like also like a translation. You know, you have a thought or a feeling or an emotion, and then you want to give it form, or you want to give it a shape and a color, maybe a sound as well, or a texture. And it's how to translate an idea into something visual, like into something tangible. And it feels like it's like a metamorphosis in a way, or it's a translation. And it's also in a way like giving birth to something, because it's something that didn't exist, or just as a thought, and something that didn't yet have shape and color and texture, and we get to give it this form. So one of the things I love with my clients when I create brands with them, it's really about discovering what's at the heart of their creation, their business, and what they stand for and what they want to showcase in the world. And when we talk about it, and it's really about tuning in and sensing the essence of it, and then bringing it into form, or giving it a visual life, and a visual life form. And when you when you reveal the design to the client, and it really matches the thought or the intention, it's really powerful, because it becomes like it is a transformation. It's a bit like you have this sense of really coming together and being connected, and sort of having this moment of truth where something lands and something is falling into place. So those moments are a real joy. They're sort of exquisite, and you feel them physically in your body, that when something has landed, and when the visual is a true reflection of the thought or the idea, and when these come together, it becomes really powerful. And it's like the design has its own energy, its own life, in a sense. And it becomes like a separate entity. It becomes like a separate being as well, that has its own needs, and it becomes alive. The other thing with, I think beauty, you can see, I think, David, you mentioned that, about the dark, and not necessarily making one thing positive and the other one negative. And there is beauty everywhere when we look, or when we're aware. I've noticed often, if I'm in a good space, if I'm in a open-minded state of mind, and I walk around, I see beauty everywhere. And if I'm stressed, or if I'm in a not such a good space, I don't see the beauty around. And so it really depends on our internal state, and how much beauty we can see on the outside. I think that's also like it's a mirror or a reflection of where we're at.
Yeah, so I like the idea of giving birth, because I think that's what it feels like a lot of times, and I think that that's what it is. As creators, we um, join forces with source energy, and then almost like we're mother and father, or any combination of of things, and then something is birthed from that, which is a piece of poetry or a website or a piece of art or a photograph or what have you. And I think for me, the I guess some of the most impactful things that I've created um, were products of me just letting source come through, and then kind of just running with it. And I'm thinking about, like, my poetry comes a lot that way, and sometimes I'll write things and I know that it's of me, but I'm just a channel. It's not necessarily um my words, but it's my words, but I'm letting source energy come through and convey the message that I am hoping to get out. And I think also, like Marianne was saying, there's a certain resonance that happens when people can feel that, when people can tap into the emotion that you were feeling at the time, or that you're speaking of, or that I'm speaking about with my writing. Um, so yeah, and I find that the more connected I am to myself and source, the easier it is for those types of beautiful and creative things to come through.
Thank you both. That's really good points. And what comes to mind straight away to kind of respond to what you just said, David, is that's exactly my experience. And I'll go back to the book of photography of Crete. It started off as just wanting to take beautiful photos of the island and places I visited, and then 4 years later, I think 4 years after just start of living here, started to kind of see a pattern, or see how they kind of came together and then formed something, like all these different dots started to join, and it wasn't conscious at all, especially in the beginning, what I was creating. But then to kind of see the end result and how it came together so perfectly, and how photographs that I had, taken, just really kind of just snapshots, just came into this beautiful piece. That was one really good example of in my own experience of what you just said, of just allowing source energy to create through me, versus times when I'm, trying to force it, sat at my desk and trying to create, especially my experiences with social media and Instagram. I'm trying to create something beautiful, trying to create something impactful, and it just loses it loses so much of its authenticity, maybe, or its naturalness and its power eventually, and its resonance. And so I'm really curious about that kind of line, or that dance between these two elements, especially when it comes to maybe doing it professionally or wanting to impact people, and how can we do it in a way that still honors very much what you share, the I guess being the channel of life energy or source energy, or even a higher consciousness, and putting that into form. So that's very interesting, yeah, to see these two ways, and to have that the very clear experience of both. One feels a lot more effortless, and has felt surprising in a way. It kind of reveals itself, and you're like, oh wow, this came through, I didn't realize this. Versus the other feels like a forcing, and if anything, a disappointment, and not being able to recreate like that experience. So I'd love to throw that into the circle and see how everyone's experiences of that is, maybe for the next round of sharing. And I was also curious, Rob, since you're next, how this relates to DJing and to sound and to music.
Yeah, I was actually just thinking about that while I was listening to the three of you. In particular, my connection with music and DJing. It's kind of, when I think back to kind of all those years of kind of standing there and being the conductor, if you like, of this room full of people. And similar to what David said, I was kind of really just a channel for this. It was a channel for this sound to come through, to kind of galvanize that room, or to create an energy, or to bring the people within that room together. It was kind of, that's essentially what the music's doing when we're all on the dance floor together. It's unifying, and it's just, again, going back to the kind of energy kind of topic, it's just unifying us as one energy, and it's, you know, raising the vibration. Yeah, I was thinking beyond the kind of the music for me, with when I create a piece of furniture or a piece of art, like I'm doing now with my straw marquetry, the end result, I guess, is always, what impact is this creation going to have on somebody, or what impact is this creation going to have on me, actually, on me and others. And again, it comes back to this, it's a vibration that we're creating a vibration. That's all. Whatever we do, and however we express ourselves, or whatever we create, we're essentially just creating a vibration, because obviously we know everything in the universe vibrates. So it all comes back to vibration and frequency for me. So whether it's a piece of art, or whether it's some poetry, or that, you know, all of these expressions have their own unique vibration. And that's what, you know, that's when you then get the resonance. You know, when people react to it, there's a resonance between that person and that thing that's been created.
Yeah, wonderful. We can do another round on this topic. I'm sure many things entered our heads as we're listening to each other. So Marianne, do you want to take the next round?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, lots of thoughts. But one, for example, you know, I think at the heart of it is the intention with which we create something. So whatever we create, yeah, the state of mind, the intention is really crucial. So to create something with the highest intention, that it has the best effect and for the highest good of the person and everyone who comes into contact with it, is, in my eyes, really important. Because like you say, Rob, you know, it's a frequency, and even something sort of solid, or a design, or something you can look at, has is energy still, and it has its own frequency. And our creations may outlast us, you know. For some of them will be there once we're not there anymore. So it's also, we have a responsibility in which imprints we put out into the world, and which imprints we sort of offer, because yeah, they're going to be there. Maybe we don't know for how long, and we don't know how many people it will impact. Maybe it's just one, maybe it's 5,000, who knows? But our intention with it, so that the intention is pure behind it, I think that then is imprinted in our creation. And I loved what you say about, you know, wanting a specific, like wanting to create something beautiful, or wanting to have an impact, Edward. And I think it's like a dance. Again, it's about, you know, being fully committed to the creation, but also letting go on how it's going to come through. And because it generally doesn't come, you know, it's not necessarily, okay, at 8:15 I'm going to be creating the most beautiful design, and by 10:49 it's going to be, you know, having an impact on 5,000 people. And so it's that we can't control that part, but it's like, yeah, fully being committed to the outcome, but sort of letting go on the process, in a sense. And you know, something that happens regularly, and I'm sure you've all experienced this. It's you work on a project, and you sleep on it for a day or two, and suddenly in the morning you wake up and you have this, it needs to be this, or it needs to be that, or I need to add this part, or I need to drop this, or I need to add this sound or this color. And it's when we don't think about it, or, you know, doing something completely different, like a walk or a shower, suddenly the thoughts are sort of, the ideas come through, and they don't belong to us. They really, it is, you know, they come through us, but we sort of, with a receptacle, or the channel, like you said, David. And I also love what Elizabeth Gilbert says about, you know, our muse, or it's like thoughts and, well, creativity. We're just sort of receptacles to it, and if we don't take the opportunity to bring it through, well, the creative idea will find somebody else to be channeled through, you know. So it's like they exist. It's like all these creative ideas exist, and we're here to, when we think of something, or when we receive that, if we act on it, then we become the birthing channel. And if we don't, then it'll find somewhere or someone else who will be taking on the task of bringing it into the world. And yeah, so it's like creativity isn't from us, but it comes through us. Yeah.
I may need you to repeat the question again, but the one thing that I did want to say is that, yeah, I love the thought of intention. And one of the things I was thinking about when Rob was talking is also just originality and uniqueness. That when we're like, you know, tapped into that source energy, that I think we trust a little bit more our way of doing things. And I think some of the greatest creators, the greatest artists, the greatest DJs, the greatest writers, the greatest fashion designers have their own way of creating something beautiful. You know, like Rob may drop, you know, he may play the same song, but when he drops the beat, he's going to do it in his own way, in a way that not the crowd expects him to, but the way that resonates with who he is, you know. And I think that's what makes some of the greatest creators, is that we're able to, and again, I don't know, I don't want to just project my own, you know, kind of where I'm at, but it just seems like everything's comes back to me to being tapped into source, and being just vibrating at your highest, because I feel like that's when, for me anyway, that's when my best work comes out. That's when it comes out the easiest. That's when, you know, I might, last week I had a workshop to do, and it was the day of the workshop, and I didn't really know what I was going to do, but I meditated, and it just came to me very quickly in my meditation. So yeah, I think that when we're tapped in, and we know who source is for us, I think that we are able to put our own unique spin on it, that source has given each one of us, because we, you know, we all have that uniqueness to us, and not in the kind of just the cliche of way of saying uniqueness, but really that we're each different, like, you know, each of us has a different fingerprint and things like that. So I think that, yeah, when we're able to put our own stamp on it and trust, I think that we're able to create more freely, and we're less concerned with the impact, because we know what the intention is, and we know the space that we created it from. So we just let it fly, and we're just confident, and we're not really thinking about whether people liked it or did this or did that. We're already on to the next thing, and that thing is living and doing what it needs to do, and we've already, you know, we're on to the next hopefully beautiful thing that we're creating.
Beautiful. And a real sense that's coming up as you were speaking, David, was this word uniqueness. And there's a real magic, like the meeting point of source energy with all our personal history, and all our likes and our dislikes, and our story and our experiences, and every single moment of our life. It's like there's which is also source energy, but there's a kind of a weaving of those two together in my experience. And what comes as I'm saying that is also, I've had experiences of that brings up fear actually in me, that there's a fear of being that vulnerable and raw, it's sometimes easier, and I know for myself it is, to to focus on the light, as we said, or the beauty of source, and create beautiful things from that space, putting like the human, my human baggage and my human experience and all the beauty and the struggle and the challenge of that into things like my writing. Photography is different because I guess we can still put a lot of our humanness into what we're focusing on, but the one that's closest for me, and that is writing, and how to weave both my personal story into it, as well as receiving source and receiving a higher consciousness and a wisdom in that. And as I'm speaking, what's becoming obvious is that that's really the dance again, right? It's like that dance of the two. And you can also see artists going into the other extreme, which is very human, very raw and very deep, but without maybe that light, without that higher consciousness. So what's coming as I'm sharing is that it really is like an invitation to do both. And you shared about DJing, and as David said, someone could play the same exact song and it could be very connecting and uplifting experience for the crowd, if that's the intention, if there's a weaving in perhaps of that intention, or that energy, that consciousness, versus someone playing the exact same song and everyone's like twiddling their thumbs and there's no I don't know, there's no impulse and intention. Or a website or a brand, two people might create the exact same logo, but one will be infused with all their personal likes and history and their intention for their work and their purpose and their mission, and all these things that you, Marianne, I know help people really dive into deeply, versus someone could have the exact same logo and it doesn't really have that vibrant that vibration or that energy. So what I'm really connecting to as I'm sharing is the importance perhaps of bringing these two together. And because we're free, we can choose not to as well. We can choose to go either way.
I was just thinking to myself when you were speaking, actually, this discussion is around the power of beauty, the power of creativity, and I was just thinking of that, actually. What is the power of beauty? What is the power of creativity? And for me, it's how I'm moved by the things that I see. When I see beauty, whether it's a piece of glass that's been blown in such an exquisite way that it literally moves me, like the emotion in my body. I'm almost reduced sometimes to emotion, to tears, because it's so emotive. Just me seeing something that's so full of beauty and craftsmanship and skill, and I think it's two things that I'm responding to. It's the actual thing in front of me, which I can see with my eyes, but on a deeper level as well, I think there's maybe an unconscious appreciation for the craftsmanship and the skill and the love that's gone into that somebody somewhere has put into creating that thing that I'm seeing. I always say when I create a piece of furniture, I find it really difficult sometimes to put a price on it, because I say to people, that piece of furniture has my DNA in it, my soul. You've got a piece of my soul
and blood
in that piece of furniture, because I put everything into it. I wouldn't even, for me to get to a point where I'm actually willing to sell it, then I that I'm happy with it. But it's the power is how it moves me. So I'm curious to actually hear other people's examples or experiences of what the power is.
The power that you just sort of gave as an example, it reminds me, at times, going to an exhibition and seeing a sculpture that has such a deep impact, and I can be completely mesmerized by the form, and it may look sort of simple or like there's nothing special necessarily about it, but it just radiates, and it exudes so much beauty that has a, yeah, I totally get that sense of being moved, you know. And it's like you have an experience, you feel it in your body when you're met with a beautiful object. But it can also be you know, a sunset or a sunrise, or just a glimpse, a drop of water on a leaf that suddenly catches the light, and you just think there's something so just outstanding about small things that capture beauty, the sort of the magnitude of beauty so beautifully. And that, yeah, it touches my heart, and it leaves an imprint, and it sort of, yeah, I am changed by that experience. And yeah, it does, yeah, it's nearly like, I was going to say, it changes our DNA, you know. It sounds sort of grand, but we are in constant conversation with our surrounding, and what the objects and the pictures, or the surrounding, the city or the nature we're surrounded by has an impact on how we feel. So we're in constant communication, in a sense, with not just with people around us, but with the space around us. And so it's really important that the space is also supportive of who we are and what we want to create in the world. If we want to create beauty, I think we need a beautiful space as well. Otherwise we're in, you know, it makes it more challenging. I mean, that's absolutely okay too, but yeah, our surrounding, I'm sort of going off topic in a way a bit, but it's I think the space around us impacts us, and impacts what we then create and what we put out into the world. And yeah, but it's also that objects and works of art, or, you know, maybe things we use every day, a cup, or everything has everything has an energy, and everything has a frequency, and that is powerful. It has an impact on us.
For sure. So was the original question, what is our power? Was that what it was? No.
The original question was, what is the power of creativity? What is the impact, or what is the power of creativity, the power of beauty? How do we define it?
I don't know. I think we just feel it. I don't know. Yeah, I think we feel it. And one of the things that I was thinking about when both of you were talking, Rob as well as Marianne, was the that I think at a certain point as creators, we accept that everything that we're doing, like our life is, we're just creative. Like everything is potentially something that we can create that's powerful and that's beautiful. And I think I'm learning, for me anyway, is to not separate it, to not separate even my spirituality, to not, because I think all of it is intertwined, to not separate my spirituality from who I am, and that it's not something that I have to do, but it's just something that I am, right? So I am a creator, I am creative. I don't do creative things, but I am this thing. And I think that's one of the beautiful parts of being a creator, is that with me anyway, we get to a certain point, I'm finding out I'm getting to a certain point where these things are just who I am, and it's not that I'm compartmentalizing my life or my time. It's just that everything is creation. Everything is spirituality. Even the, it's not that I have to go do something spiritual like meditate or do yoga or whatever that people call spiritual, but just that everything has a spiritual element in it, that everything has a creative element in it. And I think, that's just an exciting place to be in, to just to be creating constantly and to not separate yourself or separate myself from creativity, and just be creativity, and really try to embody that. And I think that's powerful. I think it's powerful for people to see, it's powerful for the person to do. And then there's so many, one of the other things I was thinking about when you all were talking was the intersectionality of our own unique experiences, and I think the power comes from that a lot of times. So the stepping into, I'm finding that my creativity, in addition to writing, is also now my creativity is being displayed in my queerness, in my being a brown person, the intersectionality of being queer and brown, in movement, so all of these things are creating new ways to be creative, and it's exciting. And then I think what I was saying is that our unique perspectives, our lives trajectory then calls on us to display that creativity in a certain way, right? So there are times when my creativity has to be, not it has to be, but it comes through in a poem about social justice, and that's what is coming through right now, and that's unique to me because of my position in the world, and you know what I mean. And then the intersectionality of you know being brown and being this or being that, and all of these things can come together. And I think that's when the uniqueness part comes in too, and when we're able to marry that uniqueness with intention, is when that real power and beauty can come out of our creations.
Oh, I love that, David. Uniqueness and intention. That's a nice formula. Yeah, beautiful. What was coming up as you spoke was actually the experience of moving to this new house, and when everything is creation, everything, where you're going to put this flower pot, where you're going to, put the cutlery, where you're going to place this, everything is like suddenly every single decision is creative. Not that it isn't outside of the house, but it really becomes really clear that everything is new and everything is creation. And the challenge of that, the challenge for that has been doing it, I think, as a couple, because there's one idea and then another idea and another idea, but also the impermanence of it, because you're putting, especially when we move in, we're putting things in, knowing that in a few weeks' time we realize we have to move things here or move things there. And there's something quite profound in that exploration, and that we've been doing. I found myself becoming less attached to it needing to be a certain way and it needing to stay a certain way, and that the act of creation or creativity or creating beauty is very impermanent. Although, Marianne, as you said, it might last. Some things may have a much longer legacy and may last longer than us. Like the way we've arranged the lounge right now is beautiful in one way, and tomorrow it'll probably be different. And there's something quite powerful in that, I think, as well. That there's these different, I know it's an expression of something temporary as well as deeper, of our uniqueness, of using this example of bringing the objects that we love together and arranging them in a certain way that is also unique, but also has an intention to create beauty and to create a space that's welcoming in this context. So there's something quite profound as well in that. In maybe it goes back to what we shared before of not having, when we come with an expectation or desiring an impact or desiring something, then we do lose maybe that intention, or do lose a bit of the purity of that intention. And yet there's something very profound in the fact that we are creative beings, as you said, and it's constant and endless, and some things may last, some things may not last, and there's a freedom in being able to do it regardless to be able to play with it regardless, and to let others collaborate with and to co-create with others, which for the ego can be challenging, because it's like, no, I had this vision of the lounge looking this way, but suddenly you're putting this there. What do you mean? You know? So for me, my personal experience, that's the next level of creativity, which is also part of the exploration with the temple in general, is this co-creation. And for me, I believe that's what we're moving into as a collective, as well as relearning that art of interconnected creation and how we can create together. Yeah.
When David was speaking, actually, what was coming to me was I don't know, the kind of the ridiculousness actually of people defining themselves as creatives, because we're all, obviously we know that we're all creators. And just what was coming to me when David was speaking was, you know, even the act of making food, dinner, if you're making something with love and you know, you take the food tastes different. If you're, you know, if you're making something, you know, generally if I'm making something for somebody else to eat, you know, there's an energy that goes into that. I'm wanting it to kind of be good. I want it to be the best it can be. As opposed to, I guess, maybe sometimes I think if when we're cooking for ourselves, there's a kind of, we're maybe a bit more dismissive and we're like, oh, I'll just cook something quickly. But there's again, going back to this idea of energy and creation and, you know, intention, you can taste it. You can taste the energy of the food that's been made with love, as opposed to the food that's been made without love and intention. So yeah, I just wanted to add that because that was kind of coming to me when David was speaking about everything that we do is creative, really.
So maybe now's a good time to have a round with some, see how we can make this practical for people. What would be like one takeaway point or something that people at home can do or start to explore to help practice, to help open up to, I guess, beauty and creativity in a way that we're speaking to, which is really with intention, with love, and with I guess purity of intent for it to have an impact. I'm curious to see what comes from us four in terms of some takeaways or some insight, practical insight for people. Marianne, do you want to start with that?
Yeah, as I think many of us are working from home currently, so I think something simple that we can all do is, you know, the area, the space where we work, just to, maybe it could become a daily thing, but just to put, you know, something that really delights you when you look at it on your working table. So I always have a candle, most sort of, you know, it doesn't matter what time of year it is, but I light a candle before I start work, just because it's something that makes me feel really good, and it makes me feel like it creates like a space where I feel held. So I've got candle. I love flowers, so I generally have, you know, some flowers on the table. But it could be a pebble that you've picked up that, you know, that you love the shape or the color or the feeling of. So creating like your working space, sort of creating it intentionally. So, you know, even if it's on the kitchen table, because sometimes that's where you're working from, just make it into sort of creating a sacred space to work in and to support the next hour or the whole day that you're going to be spending in that space. So of your work as well, if you just look at the energy on the items on your working space. There's actually one other thing, like, and when you can take yourself out, just, you know, for a walk, or just 5 minutes when you go out to get some fresh air, just sort of look around and maybe look up. If you're in the city, look up, because you see things that top of houses are sometimes absolutely stunning, and we don't tend to look up a lot. And what happens if you look at the top of the houses, you'll see patterns or designs, or sometimes, you know, the date of the building, that when it was built, and often then you also, when you look up, you also see the sky, and the sky is always changing, and there's some beautiful patterns that appear in the sky that, you know, it's never ever the same. So it's sort of a unique glimpse that you catch when you look at the sky. And so, yeah, looking up and at top of buildings and the sky.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of what you all have been saying. I really like what Rob was just saying about just noticing it everywhere. So I think that's a practical way to do it in our cooking and our dressing, the way that we walk, the way that we talk, our hair, our facial hair, everything. And I think it's also important to, I know Rob said it was ridiculous, but I think it is a good thing sometimes to call ourselves creatives, and not necessarily if there's money tied to it. Because I think, you know, Rob made a great point as far as everyone being creatives, and I think that maybe we can all just call ourselves that, whether we're being paid to do it or not. Because I think there's power in naming that and owning that, and seeing the gift that comes with that. So I think that could be a practical way. I think, like, I was thinking about what Edward was saying as far as, I think it was really interesting because you made me think about the point of, I think there can be a new beauty that emerges from sacrifice. Like when there's two people that are coming together, and maybe one person has the idea of the way this should look, and then the other person thinks it should look another way. But now this first person is sacrificing what they think in order, you know, to not appease, but in order to work with this person, right? And that's a very loving act. So it's like, wow, I just, you know, these two people just sacrificed a bit for each other, and the love that can come from that can spawn something else that's beautiful. So I think there's like, it's this wheel of sacrifice and love and sacrifice and love, and then wow, what amazing beautiful things can come from that. Just looking, just getting like that beauty and that creativity from sacrifice, from working together, from being open to um, looking at things in a different perspective, because you love the person so much that you're creating this new space with. So I thought that was really a different way to look at it, and I'm glad that you said that, because it's a good reminder that there's also, like, you know, beauty and creativity can come from sacrifice. So I thought that was pretty dope. And I was gonna make a point about what Marianne said, but now I lost it. Yes, I lost my train of thought, but yeah, I would say just to name it, to create all the time. And I was gonna say something that I thought was pretty good, but now I can't remember what it was. But those are my tips.
We'll have one more round. They might come back in before the last round.
All right.
Yeah, thank you, David. Yeah, I was going to say something different as the takeaway, but what you just shared triggered something else, which is exactly what you just said. And I've often shared with Rob that I feel there's three of us actually creating right now. There's myself, him, and the house, and that there's a real co-creation between the three of us. So the house also kind of, you know, infuses where things can go. Like, luckily, you know, a lot of our furniture just fits perfectly in places that we want it to go. So it really is this kind of this dance. So I guess there is a sacrifice for a part, for an idea, for an expectation, and it comes from listening. And I think that's the takeaway in the practice I would invite people to do, is that kind of intention of creation that we're talking about here, which is that really the highest, you know, potential, the highest outcome that will have an impact on others, in my experience, comes from that listening and being willing to follow through on what comes up. As an example, for the house, you know, I could either go in all guns blazing with the dining table needs to look like this, Or I could pause and go, okay, this is one idea that I have, you know, what do you think? And what actually is going to be feasible in this space? So, i.e., what does the house say? And from that, something is created that is, you know, we've a few times in the past couple of weeks, amazing and far beyond what I could have thought up, or far beyond my original idea. So in that space of listening, it's like there's a potentiality that is not there if we come in all guns blazing with our expectation. Yeah, I would say listening. So, you know, in practical sense, that means perhaps just pausing before engaging in something creative, in like even making food or dressing, and kind of, you know, connecting with our deeper self, our deeper nature, and feeling it, or listening if there's something that we want to express or that we need to today. Because I think creativity is expression, but also sometimes it's just like a hug, isn't it? Like you talk about fashion and dressing, and some days just want to wear something just so you feel good, you know. I mean, ideally maybe that's every day, but you know, some days it's like, oh, I want to share, I don't know, I want to share how I'm feeling, so I want to wear a tiger on my front, and you know, all white or whatever it is. And some days I just want to, you know, give myself a hug, so I just need to wear old clothes that are torn, and you know, the things that I love. So I think in that listening, the creativity might be different to what we expect, and it allows it to be more alive uh, as it changes, as we change, and as our lives unfold. Yeah.
I was almost tempted to ask if I could go before you, because I thought you were going to say what I was going to
yeah.
say, and you didn't, so it's good. I think for me that one of the most powerful practical tools, if you like, that I learned this past year was the act of kind of going into innocence and going inward, and you know, whether it's by way of a kind of, you know, a meditation, or just, you know, closing your eyes and just kind of going and becoming that inner, that young child that's unaffected by all of the kind of conditioning of life, going back to the essence of us, as, you know, me as a child, and then coming back and opening my eyes and then seeing the world through the eyes of that young child. That for me has been a massive help in moving my creativity forward, because I see things so differently. There's no barriers to, you know, my logical mind doesn't come into play. So when I remember to consciously go into innocence, or in no sense, as William Whitecloud calls it, I find that's really helpful to me when I want to be creative. Mm-hmm. The second practical tip I would give is to do something that makes you happy, like listen to a piece of music, or move, or, you know, dance, or do something that kind of raises your own vibration, because for me that always helps my creativity. It's you know, there's flow, you know, when there's flow and there's movement in my body, I often find that helps my kind of thought process, and my creative ideas kind of come through as well.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, so much beauty. I think it's time for the final round, where we ask you if there's any closing comments, and how do people connect with you. So Marianne, off you go.
Thanks. Closing comments. It feels like, seeing beauty everywhere, like just opening our eyes to seeing something that we find beautiful really can transform your day. And it can be the smile of someone, but it can be a pebble on the road. It could be just noticing the shape of a leaf on a tree. It could be anything. If there's noticing beauty that just adds a dimension to our day, so it becomes more multidimensional rather than just a flat grey canvas. So to connect with me, I'm on Instagram, Hartley Soul. I'm also, there's my website, hartleyandsoul.com, and yeah, they're two, or on LinkedIn as well, Marianne Hartley. And so they're three good places to connect with me. And thanks for this conversation.
I would just say that beauty and creativity is everywhere, and the more that we are able to tap into it and name it, and express it and live it and embody it and share it, I think the happier we are. We all are individually, and then we can bring that to the collective. So thank you all for having me, and for having this discussion. It's a great way for me to start off my day, and a reminder, you know, for me, because I think a lot of times we can talk about these things, but it's good to listen to others and to internalize the things that we've said, and I think it fuels our ability to create and live creative and beautiful lives. So thank you all very much. You can find me on social media. My Instagram is davidnazario.com. I'm on LinkedIn, David Nazario. By the time you hear this audio, my website may or may not be done. If it is, it'll be davidnazario.com. There's also a Facebook page for the book that I wrote. It's called Make Love Your Religion. That came out in 2018. If you are interested in that, it's available where books are sold, as well as on the Temple store. And yeah, I'm on social media, YouTube, name, just I guess search my name. And thank you all.
Thank you. Closing comments. The one thing I'm feeling is like this, as you said, David, this reminder and this inspiration from this conversation, to live that creative life and to look for beauty and to seek to create beauty. And there's a beautiful prayer and practice from, I think it's the Navajo tribe in America, which is called the Beauty Way. And this shaman who I follow a lot, Alberto Villoldi, talks a lot about the beauty way, which is creating beauty, but also recognizing beauty. And I just feel that invitation. Oops, microphone's here. That invitation for us right now, and for myself to remember that and to really take that conscious time to weave that into my day as much as possible, and especially into those moments when I don't want to weave it into my day. I think those might be the juiciest moments to try and weave a bit of beauty into it. So yeah. And to connect with me, you can of course find me on the Temple or edwardpike.net, or on Instagram. I am Edward Pike. Yeah.
I think my closing comment, it's quite similar to yours, Ed. I think it's a reminder to remind ourselves that there's no limit to our creativity. We are creative beings. We can create whatever we want. And so remind ourselves of that, and to keep inspiring ourselves. Flick through a book, listen to some music, move, dance, do something that moves your energy and raises your vibration to allow the creativity to flow through. I can be found, I have two websites, one for my furniture and straw marquetry, which is robsykesdesign.com, and one for my sound therapy, which is robsykessoundtherapy.com. And I'm also on Instagram as Rob Sykes Design and Rob Sykes Sound Therapy. Oh, and I'm on SoundCloud as well, I think, just as Rob Sykes for DJ mixes.
That's a good point, yeah. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Can I unmute yourselves just to close? Yeah, thank you so much for this beautiful conversation. Thank you for diving in.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for creating the space.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. It's effortless and it's beautiful, and I love it to hear and to receive everyone's wisdom. And beyond, as someone said, creativity is beyond us, and it also comes from beyond us in these moments, in these spaces. So I just love doing that. and receiving that. So thank you, and have a beautiful day.
You too.
You too.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Good to see everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.